No worries. So I've just seen it pop up on my screen. So Jake from World of Tanks is waiting for us. So we might get him in and we'll have a chat about the ANZ Premier League for World of Tanks. So let's get that in.
Excited. I gotta love always the loading and the swapping and the flicking.
Yeah. Hello, Jake.
Hello.
Ah, there you are. How you doing, Jake? Oh, hang on.
I did hear a voice for a second.
Hello, are you there, Jake?
Should I start?
There
we go.
Hey.
I've got you back.
Yep. Bit of a quick.
I'm lurking.
That's it.
I'm the phantom of the Zoom meeting.
How have you been?
There you go. Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. I'm good. It's been a busy couple of months since I last chatted to you, but I've got a smile on my face. So
that's good.
Very pleased.
That's really good. So we're joined here by Natty. You should be able to hear her.
I can hear her. Yes. How are you, Nat?
That's good. So we've got a bit of technical wizardry going between Discord and Zoom right now. So it's.
I see. No worries.
So that's all good. But for those of you in chat or listening to the podcast, we're joined by Jake Truman, who's the product manager for World of Tanks. And wow, it's been an exciting time for you guys with the ANZ Premier League happening at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. As I was kind of alluding to, busy couple of months that we've had. Probably, definitely the busiest since I started being a product manager, and probably since I've been at Wargaming. But it's a good feeling to have because everything has gone incredibly well. The community has been amazing. The tournament has been amazing. I'm sure I'll be able to tell you much more detail about it shortly. But TLDR, yeah, it's been a busy couple of months, as you know, on top of 10th anniversary of the game, third anniversary of the server. Premier League isn't the only thing we've been doing recently, but looking forward to the end of the year, as I'm sure I could speak on behalf of pretty much the entire planet with that sentiment.
That's it.
100%.
Yeah. 2020, get out of here. That's
yeah.
But so last time we spoke, I think we spoke just after round 2 had finished.
Yes.
And so I know from the bits that I was paying attention to, Perth weren't going too well, but I was happy to see they've climbed the ladder a bit there. So is there how's it all gone as the competition's progressed?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I'm disappointed not to be bringing you the fairy tale story with Perth, because they like you say they climbed from pretty much they had a rough start and then they climbed all of their way through the season, made their way into a playoff spot at one stage, but were denied in the second last battle of their final game. They had to at least beat the Melbourne Matildas, who hadn't gotten a win all season and were sitting with a solitary point on the bottom of the table. And then they pulled the turnaround of the season to come back and deny Panthers that playoff spot. But I think that really speaks to how well the whole kind of tournament has gone, because in that same round, the final round of the season, we also had the Adelaide Action X, who were second from the bottom, upset the formerly undefeated minor premiers in the Brisbane Bulldogs. So yeah, I think it was really good to see it kind of come down to the wire, because that's really what we were kind of going for with, team structure and the balance and everything. So yeah, it's really made for a few exciting stories.
Yeah, I was a bit gutted looking over the results there, and I saw the Matildas had pulled out the Hail Mary win right at the end. I go, no, come on. Could have been there.
Oh, absolutely. No, and that's it, because, Panthers were really kind of, bringing that comeback story and coming through with that. But I must say it was nice to see the Ducks get up in that last match. They've had a great spirit and a great mentality despite their position on the leaderboard. So I thought it was a very well-deserved win for them.
That's good. So I was looking at the results, so just entertain me for a second here, because this is me with my wishful thinking and trying to change things that have already happened. But
of course,
if Perth had beaten Matildas and they'd gotten that extra point, they would have finished on 4 wins, 3 Yeah, 3 draws and 2 losses, which would have put them on the same points as the Auckland Archers. So what would have happened in that sort of a case? Do you have like a goal difference type?
Absolutely. So we basically have like a round difference. So obviously each series, or each matchup consists of 4 battles across 2 maps. So that obviously allows them to generate the tie, but it also allows us to count total battles for and battles against. So that is the secondary metric in the instance that Archers and Bulldogs finished on the same points, which was looking likely in one of the scenarios. We would have taken the direct matchup result, which actually saw the Archers beat the Panthers. And I think, speaking to your hindsight and what could have happened there, I think that's very interesting, because the Archers, I think that was actually their first game of the season. It was in round 2 and they had just come off the bye, and Panthers were still struggling a little bit to find their feet. So Archers were very lucky to get that matchup at that time of the season, because I think, honestly, as we saw the Panthers kind of find their form, if the Archers had faced off with them towards the end of the season, it would have been a different story, because actually that's kind of what happened with Auckland. Is they had I don't want to call them the easier teams, but the teams that were in the lower half of the table at the start of the season. So they were looking very, very strong. But what was kind of like the elephant in the room was that they were still yet to face the Sydney Scorpions, the Sentinels, and the Brisbane Bulldogs, who all occupied those top 3 spots. So it was very interesting to kind of see all of the movement throughout the season.
It was good to see as well. I went through and had a look at the games, and there wasn't a lot of those 4-0 blowouts either. Like, I think out of the 36 games, there were only 8 4-0 wins/defeat. So it was great to see that there was still that sort of closeness of competition too.
Mate, we're going to have to get you in as our expert statistician next season. You're pulling some figures out that I haven't even crunched yet. So,
mate, I'm good.
I think
we
might be
numbers.
Bringing Game Oz as the as the board post match to discuss all the play-by-plays and everything. But it has been super interesting kind of as the season has progressed, because a lot of those matchups has kind of come as a surprise as teams have sort of found their form. And as I was saying to you when we first chatted about this, that was one of the massive objectives for us, was to basically kind of get rid of any foregone conclusions. One of the things that's been happening with our colleagues in North America is they're also running a 5v5 community style tournament. And the sentiment from the North American players that have been coming into our chat and watching was that, you could almost pick the playoff teams before the season even started, based on, who they knew from clans and who was stacked up together and everything. So that would have been similar if we had adopted the same kind of strategy here. As a 10-year game kind of progresses, the good get better, and the middle kind of stay in the middle if they are left to their own devices. So kind of throwing them in all together has been really exciting, because it hasn't come down to, I suppose, out and out skill of an individual performer. It's more come down to how a team has been able to work together and find that chemistry and find that balance. And I think the minor premiers, the Brisbane Bulldogs, really speak to that, because, and no disrespect, I've got some good friends in the Dogs, but I think if you had asked any of our community members, they probably wouldn't have picked them to do as well as they did, because they didn't really have those talisman players in our community. But to the credit of Ravi and Tomak and the guys in the Dogs, they really just knew how to work with the community, work with the players they had, and really bring out the best of them, which is ultimately what has gotten them to number 1 spot.
Well, that's it. Sometimes you realize you find along the way that you might have a team of champions, but it's not the same as a championship team.
That's exactly right. Absolutely. And I think that's something that, Married at First Sight has absolutely ruined the term social experiment, but that was definitely an element of what we wanted to kind of explore here, because, as I was saying, 10-year-old game, a lot of the, the friend groups and the clan groups become somewhat insulated as time progresses. but this is ANZ, where we're a pretty small community relative to the global gaming space. So I always like to imagine the player base we have in Australia and New Zealand is like a small country town, in the sense that everybody knows everybody, regardless of whether you've held a grudge with somebody or not. You're still going to come across them quite regularly. So another big element of this was just kind of reminding everybody that despite the fact that they may have been in the same clans for a while, there's a lot of incredible talent among the player base, and there's a lot of friendships still to be forged, which was exciting to see as well. Also, contributes to a little bit of spice and a little bit of drama, but all makes for a fantastic season to watch.
That's it. Yeah, been entertaining stuff to see there. One thing I did notice was that North Sydney Sentinels didn't have any losses. That was
they
didn't. That's quite an interesting draw. Like 4 wins, 4 draws, and that's
it was interesting because a couple of players in their team, I was speaking to them. I think their first 3 or 4 matches were all draws. It was taking them quite a while to pull a dub from one of their games, and I remember one of their players was getting frustrated because if you ask any of the captains of the team how they think they're going to go in their upcoming match, they all tell me that it's got to be a 4-0. So very, very easy to kind of shake up those expectations. But I think one of the big elements about the success of the Sentinels in that strategy is not only they may be missing 2 points from a draw out of a possible 3, but they're also withholding 2 points from all of the teams that they're playing as well. And I think that's what was able to get them over the line as they pulled draws against. I think they drew against Panthers. I think they drew against the Bulldogs as well from memory. But as the season kind of progressed, the points that they withheld from those other top teams were just as important as the single point from the draws they were getting in the early season.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, and in the end it did them well. Like Brisbane, the Bulldogs, who only had 1 more win than them, only finished 1 point above them in the end as well. So it's it brings out the mathematician in me. I was always the best at maths and sciences as a kid at school, and all these sorts of numbers do really interest me. Like just for the record as well, out of the 36 games, I said there was 8 4-0 losses. There were 18 3-1 results and 10 2-2 results. So yeah.
Interesting. And it's funny that you mentioned that as well. You're sending me this stats report, by the way. I'm loving it. What's funny about that is I think it was the first night and the first couple of weeks we were seeing, as kind of teams were finding their feet and getting used to the 5v5 and the map structure and each other, really almost every game was going to the defensive side. So our matches basically play on a map, and it's a game of two halves basically. So one team picks their home map, as it were, and then we have an attack and defense, and then we play the other team's home map, attack and defense. So in those first 2 weeks, it was almost always going towards the defensive side, and it was looking like there was going to be very much like a defensive meta in the league. But as we kind of progressed and strats got a bit more creative and teams got a bit more confident, you started to see the results. So yeah, again, you sound like myself and my boss, because one of the big things that we wanted to do with this was to kind of bring those stats and the stories that you can pull from particular statistics and linking that all together, into the forefront of this game, because our players in random battles, they love finding out their accuracy rating, their penetration rating, damage per game, shots hit, shots bounced. It's very much crunching the numbers. So that's almost as exciting to the number heads like yourself and me to watch it as the games themselves.
Yeah, and we touched on a little bit the last time we spoke as well about how do you get the interest of esports, which typically if you watch something, it's fast paced, you don't quite know what's going on. And even the more sort of accessible esports like League of Legends, which had their Worlds recently, which I watched for the first time as well. And how do you make that more accessible? And you've done some really great things there by first of all, I reckon naming the teams after cities is just a masterstroke, because everybody will go, I have no idea which team to follow, but this one's named after my city, so I'm going to go for them. And even to the point where you've mixed up the players, like, and made it interesting. It's made some unpredictable outcomes that you wouldn't have picked at the start of the season.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think, those two elements there, thank you for calling it a masterstroke, by the way. Yeah. I'll definitely clip that later. No, like, I'm not going to pretend like I'm the first person to put a sports team representing a city, but I think it surprises me as somebody who is so interested in sports and esports that we don't see it as much in esports tournaments. You're starting to see it a bit with the Call of Duty League, and obviously the Overwatch League did their big song and dance about it, a while back. But yeah, I think it's very hard for esports to engage the fence sitter, as it were, or just like the casual sports viewer, and that's one of the easiest ways to just kind of like identify a team, whether it's your home state or your favorite color or something like that. I think I mentioned it in last time we chatted. The reason I follow Chelsea in the English Premier League is because when I was 4 years old, they were the first team that I saw that wore a blue outfit. That was my favorite color. 22 or something years later, still my favorite color, still my favorite team. So, I think that's what really kind of allowed it to be a bit more accessible to our incoming viewers, which actually I'll throw a stat back at you. Out of the 80,000 unique viewers we had across the entire tournament, if I remember, 95% were outside of our core audience. So we're effectively engaging the World of Tanks or the World of Tanks channel for the first time. And a massive shout out to our community manager Vondel, because he's got a great relationship with Twitch and was able to get us some spotlight time on the front page, which certainly helped. But I think we've been on the front page before and haven't had that response before, and I think a lot of that was just a little bit more accessible. You could kind of pick things up within the first couple of minutes without having to watch 4 hours and really kind of understand the whole game before you understood what was going on.
That's right. Yeah, and it is it does have its nuances to it, but it's a reasonably easy game to watch. It's tanks shooting at each other. You say, all right, don't go over that hill or he's going to shoot you type thing. It's an easy game to sit there and watch, which is a draw card for any esports. So you're not worried about which abilities are being used now. Yeah, you get to the resource management side of things and it gets a little more complicated, but it's for an entry level esport, it's a very easy one to watch, and I'm glad that you've had that success, especially 95% outside of your core audience. That's a pretty good stat. Damn good, actually.
Yeah, no, very, very happy with that, because, and I think that's obviously the other, I think, challenge with esports in general is engaging your core audience, or outside of your core audience, as it were, because generally the people who are most interested in the highest echelon of play, the highest level of skill, are the people who understand it, and that's something that's prevalent in esports, I think, much more than regular sports, because you've got the gaming element and the digital element. So yeah, it was a really exciting stat to see, and it was really reassuring as we look to next year and start to plan season 2, because it's quite clear to see that the appetite is there for it.
So have you got any particular MVP players that you've seen out there that have pulled off some particularly stunning plays?
It's hard to say that there's because coming from it as a product manager and somebody who was formerly a community manager, I've spoken a lot to the players and the captains personally. So a lot of my MVPs are the guys, the captains of the teams who have been working, super hard behind the scenes, just bringing the teams together or supporting the leagues and stuff like that. One of the guys I have to give a shout out to in that respect is the captain of the Panthers team. Because he was able to manage the difficulty of the start of their circumstances so well. And I think, to see how close they got to basically getting into the playoff really speaks to how well he handled that. It's interesting that, that you say in terms of stats, because one of the guys who was by the numbers, the highest damage per game player couldn't really kind of engage with the format and was kind of really struggling with the team mock-up and stuff. So in terms of like your MVP by the numbers, it definitely leans one way. But for me, the MVPs were the guys who really just kind of, stuck in and brought their team together or brought, it's really interesting. We've got a Discord server for all the players so we can coordinate match fixtures and they can, use team comms and stuff like that. And you regularly see, and I think this speaks to the whole, small town nature of the community. You regularly see them, wishing each other luck before the game, having a friendly conversation afterwards, talking about what they could have done better when they were in a 1v1 or something like that. So I'm going to be like a proud mother hen, and I'm going to say I love all of my children equally. And yeah, they're all MVPs.
That's good. That's good as well.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah. But that's what's great about when you come together with these communities. Like, we ran a Rocket League tournament ourselves, and it ended up being fairly small. But when the teams weren't playing, they were hanging out in a group chat and all just talking together. And that's really amazing when you see your community, and especially on a bigger scale like the World of Tanks ANZ Premier League. It's with players just doing that. It's just heartwarming.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are the guys, like I say, who have been in opposing clans for several years or something like that, who were rivals in former esports or something, or, again, who were in the same team or same clan previously, who are now at odds because of the state they're representing and stuff like that. So it's just really nice to see, that camaraderie and that sportsmanship, because, it's just, yeah, I guess it's just heartwarming because, tensions can definitely flare. That there's definitely a bit of drama involved, as always. But at the end of the day, these guys are all here and participating because they love this game and they care for this community and they want to see it continue to succeed. So it's been really kind of encouraging to see that as well, because at the end of the day, this, success aside on Twitch and, team colors and camouflage and all that aside, this was going to live or die on whether they were going to buy into it. So it was really great to see, considering that, they weren't able to pick their teams and play with their friends. We weren't putting them in the most comfortable circumstances, but they still, went all out to engage with it, which is really awesome.
That's brilliant. So we're now getting to the pointy end, though. We're entering playoffs this Friday. So 2 weeks of playoffs there. What's the format that you guys are using? So you said the top four are playing off, but so is it 1 plays 4 and 2 plays 3?
Yes, that's correct. Well, 1 to 4 and 2 to 3, which makes it a spicy matchup in that 2 to 3 slot, because we've got the Sydney Derby, and the those who know our players and know our communities know that there are 2 players in each of those teams who have had a long-standing rivalry. So this is having everyone in our community absolutely like salivating at the prospect of watching this. So yeah, you've got 1 plays 4, so you'll have Brisbane Bulldogs playing the Auckland Archers, and then the 2 Sydney teams facing off. So it's a slightly different structure because now we're in playoffs, we can't really have a draw. So it's a best of 7 instead of a series of 4 matches now. So it can come down to a tiebreaker, but that will, time will tell what's going to happen there. And, things kick off this Friday at 7 p.m. on the World of Tanks ANZ Twitch channel. So
that's 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard.
Yes, that's right. Yes. I forgot you're in WA, and I forgot that I have to juggle 5 time zones
at
a time.
Right.
So that's 7 p.m. AEDT.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, no, it was on my list of questions to ask, because I knew it was 6 o'clock, but I wasn't sure if you were sticking with the 6 o'clock with daylight savings.
Yeah, so we did have to shift to the 7 p.m. start, and that's always been a delight, both as a community manager and a product manager, to basically cover a community of 2 countries that spans 5 time zones. It makes it pretty tricky when New Zealand are playing Perth and we're trying to find a time that suits both teams.
What are they?
Especially
New Zealand
when
are like 6 hours ahead of Perth now, I think.
That's exactly right.
Crazy.
And it's funny because there's a Kiwi in the Perth team and there's a WA player in one of the Kiwi teams.
Oh, wow.
So, we just really wanted to make sure that we had the difficulty level set to to ultra nightmare, as it were. I just finished playing Doom 2016, so that's firmly in my memory.
Nice. Just quietly, you got something good to look forward to in Doom Eternal. I love that game.
Oh, mate. Speaking of salivating, after I finish that game, I'm absolutely champing at the bit to get started there. But I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna pace myself.
Sweet.
I've still got to get one of those fancy Xboxes that's sitting off to your what's that? Your left, my right. Pretty precious.
Pretty sweet. We were just talking earlier about it, man. This quick resume function, man. I've had it out on my big TV, which is the 4K TV, unplugged it, brought it back in here, booted it up, and my game has still been at the same spot where I left it on the other TV.
Mental.
But anyway, we're not
between that on Xbox and the DualSense on PS5. I'm very excited. I've always been a passionate console gamer at heart. Went back from my retail days back at EB and game. But anyway, let's stop talking about that. I was going to say talk about Xbox and PlayStation.
That's right. Already spent the first 15 minutes of this one talking about Project xCloud, but we'll keep going. We're talking about World of Tanks now. So
we certainly are.
So after the 1v4 and 2v3 match, I guess is it the winners from both of those obviously would go on to the grand final? Are you doing like a bronze medal match as well?
No, so we were looking at exploring a bronze medal match, but because we did the initial, the prize pool's 10,000 AUD, and we split it evenly for the third and fourth team. So we didn't think that there was they can definitely play for pride, but there wasn't a kind of like a financial incentive as to go for the third spot. So instead of a play for third, we'll be having an exhibition match with myself and 4 of my other wargaming clansmen facing off against 5 of our community contributors in what we're calling the Ouija's vs. CC's showdown.
That'll be cool. But yeah, so and you were mentioning the prize at $10,000. That's a really awesome prize pool for that. What's the breakdown? What are the winners of the whole shebang walk away with?
Yep, absolutely. So the winning team will take 6,000 of that $10,000 chunk. So that works out to effectively be $1,000 for each player on the team, should they want to split it impartially. And then you've got, I think it's $2,000 for the second place team, and then 1K a piece for third and fourth.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely exciting to be bringing a cash prize pool back into World of Tanks. I think it's definitely something that whether you like it or not, it definitely adds a kind of a lot of legitimacy to the esport and kind of elevates it more than giving away in-game prizes or peripherals. But speaking of, actually, in addition to the prize pool, our fantastic sponsors at HyperX will be giving each of the finalists one of these amazing World of Tanks custom HyperX keyboards, which we designed with them. So it's got 20, I think it's about 25 custom keys that are all, World of Tanks bounded keys that have got special icons on them and everything. So definitely, I'd say, well and truly, the cash money is first and foremost in everyone's mind, but they certainly won't be walking away empty-handed at all.
No, that's awesome that HyperX can get on board with that. I see recently as well, you had a partnership with Ironside Coffee Company as well. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. That launched this week, and it probably seems like a bit of a weird flex, but okay on surface level. But we've been talking to the amazing folks at Ironside for a good while now. They're obviously a husband and wife team. Both of them served in the military. Ben and Naomi, they have 30 years of service between them. Ben is actually a former tank commander. So we've been friends with them for a while. They've been stocking the coffee in the Wargaming Sydney office for a while. Obviously, haven't really been using the Wargaming Sydney coffee machine in the kitchen since about March, sadly. But got my own little section of Ironside Coffee at home. But yeah, I kind of threw it out there as I often like to do in any sort of meeting. I'll just pitch the most insane, ridiculous idea that I can think of, and then it kind of just gets tempered down until I accept a compromise. But
sounds like you and Pete get along really well. Half of the stuff we do start with Pete coming in going, "I've got an idea."
That's it. That's the best way to approach any sort of meeting, whether it inspires excitement or sheer panic. It's it keeps people on their toes. ¿Por qué no los dos? But so Ironside have been great, and my crazy idea in one of our early meetings was, why don't we do a collaborative coffee? But I didn't really want to make it very tokenistic. I love when brands collaborate, but I hate when it's just like, oh, we'll slap our logo on your thing and you slap your logo on our thing, and then we'll jack up the price, and that'll do us. So what we've done with Ironside is we've sourced the beans from East Timor, which obviously the Australian military have had a long-standing relationship with, not only in deploying but supporting over the years.
Free trade I saw as well. In the
free trade, single origin, supporting local growers and all that kind of stuff, which is really amazing. My family has gone over to East Timor a few times to help on the ground there, so I've always been passionate about the country. But on top of that, all profits from every single bag sold, 100% of the profits will be donated to Legacy Australia, which is an amazing charity that helps military families and families of veterans who have returned with injuries or sadly not returned at all. Basically try and find some semblance of normalcy in their life. So this is a charity that Ben and Naomi are very passionate about as return service people themselves, and the guys at Legacy have been amazing too. I was speaking to Scott Waugh, who is their chairman, happens to be a tank commander himself, or was back in the day. I love that every single partnership I've managed to pull up over the past couple of years, they just happen to be a tank commander. I swear I'm not doing this intentionally, but it's a welcome passive benefit. But the guys at Legacy have been amazing. Ironside have been amazing, and this coffee tastes pretty good as well. So that's certainly I guess the main thing, really.
Yeah, that is very important. I also like the double meaning of the name as well, like the abbreviated to APCR, which is Arabica Premium Coffee Roast, but in the military it also stands for Armor Piercing Composite Round. So that's I do like that.
Was when we were doing the brainstorming for the name. We were talking about like Commander's Cup or Tank Fuel or something like that, and I was able to get Arabica and Premium down, and then we just spent the rest of the day working out how we could get CR to tie into it as well. So it was begging for an answer. So we were locked in the brainstorming room until that was sorted. But it's definitely inspired a chuckle out of a lot of our players, because that is the armor or the shell type in World of Tanks that seems to have a coating of salt on it as well.
Nice. So that's so amazing hearing the work you're doing there, and that the 100% of the profits from it are going to Legacy, which is a very, very good charity. They look after the returned servicemen and women families too. So that's really amazing.
No, thank you so much.
So playoffs start this Friday, 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, on the World of Tanks ANZ Twitch page. So be sure to tune in there. I'm sure it'll be exciting. And then tuning in next week as well, where you can see the grand final and a wonderful exhibition match that I'm sure is going to be amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll hope to see you there in the chat, guys. But until then, it's been an absolute pleasure as always.
All right. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Too easy. All right. See you,
Cheers.
Jake.
Have a lovely night, guys. Appreciate it.
Bye.